Hello, Hamilton. It's that time again. Get up, get off the couch, start tackling your own to-do lists around your own home. Welcome to the Just Ask Bob show today. Got a very special show for you. The whole show is on toilets. We're going to go through the toilet. We're going to teach you how to repair it, rebuild it, or get rid of it. Let's start with some products and some materials that you're going to need. First of all, let's start with the wax, the gaskets. We've got quite a variety here. Please don't ever use this in your Hamilton homes. This is just a plastic rubber type of a gasket. It will not be an adequate seal for several reasons, so forget that. Then we've got the wax. Now let's start with this wax first. Very thin product. This is about $2. Then we jump up to this one here, which actually has a sleeve. Now the sleeve's very important. We're getting a little bit better in quality here. With the sleeve, with sleeve, without sleeve. Now the sleeve helps point or sort of direct the waste down into the drain system. Now again, same thickness, so these are thin. Now this is the one that I prefer. It's an extension toilet wax ring with the sleeve and 3-inch solid brass bolts. This is very thick. I mean, you can see just by the packaging. You don't want to skimp on the wax, so we've got pretty well everything from $2 to $6. You always want to use a thick wax. Set that aside. Now, with a toilet, and we'll teach you in a moment about toilet design, there's a lot of things you can change with your toilet. You'll need wax, obviously, for a new install. If you've got a broken handle, the handle can always be changed. The tank to bowl bolts, you can buy a kit. So with the kit, you can change these. So we're going to go over the toilet step by step. There's different areas where the toilet can leak. This makes your connection from the tank to the bowl, assuming that it is a two-piece toilet. So we'll show you how to replace these a little bit later on throughout the show. We're also going to show you a closet flange extension kit. Now, depending what's going on in your bathroom floor, there's a very specific way that the floor flange has to be set up. If it's not set up properly, this is an extension kit. So this is very important to have as well. Now, we're going to talk about the bolts. Not all bolts are created equal. These are heavy. They're solid brass, as opposed to these ones. Now, which one do you want securing your toilet to the floor? You want the heavy one, you want the strong one. Now, depending what brand, this is from Waterline, depending what brand wax bowl ring you buy or what product or what package, what manufacturer, a lot of them give you these. But again, always use the thickest one you can find. You want a strong one, not these at all. They won't secure. Everything's about long term. Everything will work for a few weeks, whether it's the cheapest product, even the cheapest gasket. We're talking about long term because you're cutting the contract out of the equation. You're doing the work for yourself. You want it to last because you're doing it on the weekend. You're doing it in the evenings because you do work, throughout the week. So you want to use good products. You want the repair or the new installation to last. Now, if we can talk about shims. Now again, depending on your circumstance of how level or how not level your floor is, you may require the use of shims at some point underneath your toilet. Now, no matter what you do, don't use wood. A wood shim under a toilet, not a good idea for a lot of reasons. If you have to use a shim, use a composite shim. This is a little bit similar to your backyard possibly if you got a composite deck. It's a composite material. It won't mold. It won't weaken by being affected by water. So again, only as a last resort. If your floor is bad and you have to shim it, use a composite shim. Now let's talk about water lines, the supply line. These different connection choices will go from your shutoff valve to the underside of the toilet tank. Now let's start in order of quality here, or lack thereof quality. This is a plastic unit. Not very strong. Again, it does meet minimum building code, but I don't recommend this at all. Next, we have the metal unit, which is strong. It is a good unit, but this takes a professional's experience. Again, you don't end up coming straight, depending. Sometimes your shutoff valve is here and your toilet is over here. This has to be bent and angled, and it is a little bit difficult to use. The easiest one to use is the stainless steel braided hose. This can flex in any direction. It's a very high quality unit. And now what it also comes in is the flood safe version. So you have two choices when you're using these stainless steel supply lines. These are rather expensive, $10 to $15, but these are flood safe. They have an auto shut off connector within the unit. So if this senses that it's leaking and it's going to cause a flood, it'll shut off the water flow. Now, let's take a moment now to talk about the guts of the tank, the internal tank of a toilet. Anybody recognize this? Old Hamilton home, the floating ball. Now, this is what toilets originally came with, and even new toilets today are sold with a floating ball. Not a good system, poor design, always has to be adjusted. It can cause issues. Forget about the floating ball. What we're going to be using is the Fluid Master system. This comes on most modern toilets. Again, the real low-end toilets still have the floating ball. Instead of the floating ball, we have this donut that floats. So this floats up and down, very easy to adjust, very fast to fill, very quick fill in the toilet. So we're going to go over that in a moment. Now let's take a moment to read an email here, which is what precipitated today's show. Dear Bob, I watch your show all the time and wanted to know if you could do a show on toilets. My biggest worry is cracking the china toilet when I'm bolting the tank to the bowl. Bob, can you please show me the right way to do it? Mary, Hamilton, Ontario. No worries, Mary. We have not one toilet here today, but we have two toilets to show you. Now, this is very important. I'm a firm believer in quality. Not every toilet is created equal, and most certainly, as you'll see in a moment, not every lid. Don't you love this? Picture now, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the ensuite bathroom off the bedroom. Husband or wife gets up. They do their business. You don't want to wake up to that. Actually, if the toilet's loose on the floor, that'll even jigger the toilet up. This is a nice quality seat. Comes standard with the quality toilet. But now let's take a moment to talk about these toilets. This is your typical toilet that's going to be found in most homes. It's standard on all new home construction. Now, as you can see, it's just a regular round front bowl toilet. It is a two-piece. It does have the old style floating ball, and this is made by American Standard. So it does have the ball that floats. You've always got to play with the screw. Time to time, the toilet may run on and off, on and off. So in a day and age where we're trying to think to be green and energy conscious, this is a toilet that if it is running on and off, it can cost you hundreds of dollars in wasted money annually through your water bill. Now, this is also made by American Standard. This is the Champion. And this toilet truly and honestly is the champion. I've installed this toilet in people's homes to compensate for bad sewer rough-ins. So I've had homes where somebody's had a rough-in done in the basement, and when you pull off the old toilet, you can actually see standing water in the drain system, which is not right. So the rough-in's been done wrong. This toilet is to such a high level of quality and power that it'll force through that standing water. Now, this toilet comes elongated. So by elongated, if we look at them both, it's a bit of a different shape to it. It's a little bit easier to sit on. It's more comfortable. Now, if we take a look here at the height difference, this is what they call chair height. So this is a tall boy. It's more comfortable to sit on. Now, if we also talk about mass and weight, this toilet is much heavier than this one. Now, when it does come to toilets, if I can take a moment to grab a flange here, this is how your toilet's installed to your floor. Now, again, I mean, we can get into that on another show, but there are issues with the way this is done. First of all, it's complete plastic. Secondly, it can break at the ends, and it doesn't really bolt well to the floor. So I would say, in my opinion, what's really holding your toilet tank down, not only the flange, but also mass, gravity. So with a much heavier toilet, much less chance of it coming loose from the floor. Now, before we take a break here, let me tell you a little bit of insider information. A representative of American Standard once told me this, and I want to share this with everybody in Hamilton. Now, this may surprise you. What many have deemed the best toilet in the world, design-wise, the American Standard Champion, is obviously made by American Standard. But as the representative told me some time ago, they're also very proud that they make the world's worst toilet, which is this one here. Now you wonder, how can the same manufacturer take pride in the fact that they make one of the worst designed toilets and one of the best designed toilets? Because this is the one that makes their profits and makes money for their shareholders. This is the toilet that is sold 50-1 compared to the Champion. The simple reason is money. You've got $200 toilet, sometimes less. You got a toilet at around $300. That $100 times hundreds and thousands of homes that the builders put out, well, the builders are going to buy in mass and quantity the cheap one. Now, most homeowners, they don't know. They'll buy the cheap one, but don't let your contractor buy you the cheap one. Insist on the Champion for American Standard. So just so you know, this isn't a Champion commercial, because obviously I let out of the bag here that they make the worst and they make the best. But like in true Just Ask Bob style and fashion, I always call it, as I see it, straight down the middle. We're going to take a break in a few moments, then we're going to start pulling this toilet apart.
Fruits and veggies. They come in all shapes and sizes. And add color and goodness to every meal and snack. So whenever you eat, include fruits and veggies. And mix it up. For information and recipe ideas, visit fruitsandveggies.ca.
Hello, welcome back to the Just Ask Bob show. Today's show is about toilets. We have our two toilets here. We have the Champion by American Standard. We have also the American Standard regular round front bowl toilet. Showing off the difference in seats once again. Now we're going to get to the important differences, the design and the components inside. Now, the emailer was really clear about worrying about cracking the china, and that can happen, so we're going to release this. We're going to disconnect the top from the bottom, the tank from the bowl. Most all two-piece toilets that you buy, they need assembly, so they come in the box unassembled. Now, there are going to be a few tools that we're going to need for this. Now, the Champion, if you're working on it, comes with its own tool. This is what's going to loosen the nuts that connect it. So we'll set that here for this is the Champion. So we'll set that aside for a moment. Now, if you're working on most other toilets, you're going to need a socket of some sort, and you're also going to need a ratchet. And the other important thing you're going to need is a very long length flathead screwdriver. Now, what you want to do is you want to get a look inside here. These bolts are flathead bolts on the top. So you want to catch the bolt with the screwdriver. Then you want to come from underneath with the pliers, or sorry, with the ratchet. Once you've got it loosened, you can undo the nut by hand. There we go. And then you can pop it out. A lot of times, this is where your toilet's going to leak. The toilet is going to leak from the connection where the tank bolts to the bottom of the toilet. As you can see, the rubber just disintegrates. So we have that here. Let's take apart the other one. And you want to get the screwdriver in. This has been loosened already, so either you're going to have the ratchet here at the bottom, or you're going to be holding on to the nut. Okay, get that undone. Now you've got to be very careful. This is made out of china and it can break easily. So we'll set it down. Okay, let's have a look at the bottom. Now again, just about any two-piece toilet you buy, it's going to come in two pieces. This is going to be in a bag, and it's absolutely critical this is installed properly. So it has to install this way. 3 points that you can have a leak. You can have a leak at the two holes that are attaching it to the bowl, or you can have a leak at the gasket. Now, Kohler toilets or some other brand toilets, they actually have 3 holes. So it's a three system, 3 ways of bolting it down. Okay. Now, when you're setting it down, ideally what you want to do is set the bolts through the holes. You be careful with it. Set it down. Push the bolts in through the top. Now again, you want to keep it from spinning. It's going to want to spin as you start to lock the nut in from the bottom. So you want to hold it set. You want to come in from the bottom, get the nut going, and then even with your finger you can hold the nut as you start to turn the top. Now, you don't continue until you get the other side going. The easiest and most common thing with homeowners is they're going to snug one side at a time, get it down tight, then snug the other side, and you're going to crack the china. So you have to go slowly, left and right, left and right. So we're going to get the nut going. Again, you want to pinch it with the screwdriver. You want to start screwing it down. It can be a little fussy. There we go. Now it's caught. So you want to snug the left and the right equally. It's all about equal pressure. You don't want to end up cracking the china. Now this is to the point where each one is contacted. I'm going to do a couple of turns to the right, switch sides, couple more turns. Now we'll set it down. Now on this toilet here is a little bit of a better example on the Champion. There's a reason for the level. If you want to eyeball it with the level, what I've done here purposely is I've cranked down the right all the way, so I've completely tightened this bolt. Look at the pinching between the tank and the bowl. This side I haven't tightened it at all. Look at the gap. Now this is wrong because if we start tightening it here, you can split the toilet in half. So it's very, very important that the level doesn't lie. There's the bubble. Lift it up. Bubble's in the middle where it belongs. So you have to apply equal pressure. Equal on the right, equal on the left. Now, we also talked about the floating ball. We have the floating ball here. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to teach you how to get the ball out and install the Fluid Master. We'll be back in a moment.
Walk you across the street?
Sure. Why not? Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hello Hamilton, welcome back to the Just Ask Bob show. On today's show we're demonstrating the differences between toilets, and we are going to get to finally install this guy. On this particular toilet now again, this is a very old one. So this toilet does not have a Fluid Master. You have to understand this is what controls the water filling and of course the level. So this toilet right now has the floating ball. So we're going to take a moment to remove the floating ball. Now I've got everything loose and ready here, but in your own home, this is what I was just undoing from the bottom. You'll need either water pump pliers or you'll need a wrench to get around that. Once you undo it, it pulls out. Make sure to undo the fill hose. Take that out, that won't be necessary. Now the most important thing is, and people have to realize, to do a lot of renovations or installing things in your home such as toilets, read the instructions. When you buy these items at the store, they tell you in exactly what order to follow. So obviously the nut goes on the bottom. The biggest error homeowners have is they don't put these washers on the right way, and you're going to have a leak. So it's very important. Look at the diagram. There's a diagram, a picture on the box. Everything has the information in it. So you'll see there's two gaskets, one that goes at the top, one that goes at the bottom. This is easy to remodel. This is for any toilet that has the floating ball. You change it over to the Fluid Master fill valve. It fits back in the same hole. Again, really important, the gasket goes on the right way from the bottom. Then you get the nut on, you tighten it up. Obviously, when you fill up with water, check for any leaks. A lot of these parts are plastic, so you only want to tighten them hand tight. You want to fill up the water and you want to look for leaks. Okay, refill that onto the hose there. Now there's one final part in the toilet that we haven't talked about. So just to retrace our steps, we've talked about the 2 bolts and washers that actually secure the tank itself to the bowl. If it's a Kohler toilet, there'll be 3. So that's a potential for leak. Another potential for leak is the fill valve. And the other potential for leak is the actual flapper. Now on this particular toilet, it's a greenish blue one. So they come off very easily. These are called the ears. They come off the sides, and always the flapper is going to connect to the handle. You want to pull that off as well. Sometimes they can be a little bit stubborn. Okay. Now this is what seals inside your bowl and the tank. And this is another reason why don't put chlorine tablets or any type of products inside the tank, because they damage the rubber surfaces. So now to put on the new one, these are the ears. They're going to go over the tabs. They just click on. That gives you a nice tight water seal. And then again, the chain can be adjusted to fit onto the handle at the proper length. So this is what's going to seal. If this doesn't seal properly, you're always losing water from the tank into the bowl. Hence the shut-off valve, water comes up again. It's a constant cycle. You lose, you fill, you lose, you fill. It's commonly described as a toilet running on. And it's usually during the middle of the night. Now, we're ready. We're going to take this guy. We're going to install it. Let's just take a moment to talk about our wax. Remember, we opted to use the thick wax and the wax that has the horn. It costs a few more dollars, but as you can see, this helps ensure that everything goes down the drain. Now again, depending what brand you're buying, I like the brand I usually buy gives you these little plastic washers. You're going to slide these over the bolts. All that's going to do is keep the bolt snug so the bolt doesn't flip over as you're setting the toilet. So again, we'll set that down. Okay, there's our wax. Now it's just a matter of setting it down. Now, the only thing we could have done differently here, now when this is in your own home, remember there's a reason the toilet comes in 2 pieces in the box. Carry the base over, install that first, the bowl, then you install your tank afterwards. So I don't recommend just one person lifting this. I'm a contractor and this is a TV show, so I have no problem doing it, but at home if you already have it pre-assembled, use 2 people to carry it. It is a little bit on the heavy side. Now as you bring it down, you want to line up the bolts. There we go. Now you just rock it until it squishes down. This is making a beautiful seal. Okay, now about securing it to the floor. We're going to grab the water pump plier, the adjustable wrench. You'll need an adjustable wrench for this step. Now again, just like the lady mentioned in the email, she's concerned about cracking the china. 2 ways you can crack it. One is when you're putting the tank onto the bowl. The other is now when you're fastening at the bottom. You do not want to permanently fasten the right side, then fasten the left because you'll crack it. So you go a little bit at a time. So we'll get the washer down. First the washer, then the nut. And you want to get them on hand tight. Okay, just until it contacts. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now you have to remember, we're going hand tight until everything contacts. So what you're going to do now, a couple of turns on the right, a couple of turns on the left, a couple of turns on the right, couple of turns on the left. Nice tight fit. Thank you so much for watching the Just Ask Bob show, whether it's this episode or any of our other episodes. www.justaskbob.com. You can pause, you can rewind, you can catch all of the steps as we go through them. Until next time, thank you, Hamilton.